Yes, it finally happened. We got the reveal of Ghost of Tsushima 2, which is actually called Ghost of Yotei. It features a brand new protagonist who we already see do some very cool new moves, and there is way more to this trailer than meets the eye, so let's go over it. Of course, if you are excited, leave us a like, and we started a giveaway for the game too. Make sure you're a subscriber of the channel, and then you can enter via the link in the pinned comment. And let's actually start by talking about the name of the game. Ghost of Yotei is referencing Yotei Mountain, a large volcano on the Japanese island of Hokkaido, which in itself is a very interesting region. The game takes place in 1603, more than 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima, and during this time the area was outside the rule of Japan. It was instead inhabited by a people called the Ainu, although the southern tip of the island was also home to Japanese settlers during the time of the game. But yeah, the main thing that means is that the perceived law and order brought by the samurai is nowhere to be seen in Hokkaido. This also becomes clear from dialogue, as a man talking to our new main character Atsu mentions that every Ronin here is after her. If there was proper law enforcement, Atsu would definitely be chased down by samurai, but no, instead the Ronins are hunting us down, which are former samurai who either lost their master or their master's favor. So maybe this time around some of them will function like roaming bosses, like the mercenaries from AC Odyssey, which would be very cool. The same character in the trailer also mentions this is a place where people come to disappear, so we've definitely found ourselves in a very interesting spot indeed. I already mentioned it during our live reaction, but I was getting some heavy western feels during the trailer, and this lawless setting definitely adds even more to that. And while I don't know if we get to explore the entirety of the region, Hokkaido is much bigger than Tsushima was. You can already see some sprawling fields in the trailer, but the difference in size really becomes apparent when you compare the two on a map. Again, I don't know if this is representative of how much bigger the in-game map is going to be, but at least there is a ton of potential to have an even bigger open world. But the biggest reveal from the trailer is of course our new main character Atsu, as Jin Sakai will not be returning for this next installment. I mean, the first Ghost was set in 1274, so there is no way he is still alive, although I have some theories about how he's still important to the story that I want to go over in a bit. But yeah, our new character Atsu is being played by Erika Ishii, who you might know as Anna Bray in Destiny 2 or Valkyrie in Apex Legends. She appears to be a hunter or assassin of some sort, as mentioned by that other NPC, and I have a feeling this hunt is a rather personal quest, which has to do with this long piece of cloth or parchment Atsu carries with her. I think it's a target list of some sort, as we can see her wiping out one of the words or names with blood later in the trailer. The cover art also shows her sitting with this cloth in hand amidst several katanas stuck in the ground, which could either represent the fallen targets or maybe Atsu's fallen companions that sent her on the hunt to Hokkaido in the first place. The developers have called Atsu's story one of underdog vengeance, so that definitely fits with the fallen companions theory. Atsu also seems like a very well-trained warrior, as she is able to dual wield katanas, and it's a skill I think we'll be able to pick up pretty much immediately, something that is also hinted at in the trailers. For one, the short gameplay clip we see of it seems to be against a very basic bandit enemy, and if Tsushima is something to go by, enemies get more heavily armored near the end of the game, meaning this is still early. The wanted poster of Atsu shown near the beginning also depicts her wielding two swords, meaning it's a skill she uses when she starts building a reputation for herself in Hokkaido. And yeah, considering how amazing the single katana combat in Ghost of Tsushima was, wielding two at the same time is going to be incredible. And the best part is, that's not even all, as we also see a short clip of Atsu with a kusarigama in hand. Assassin's Creed Shadows showed some cool uses for this weapon, so I am sure Sucker Punch will do some fun stuff with it as well. And while I'm guessing we get some quiet and stealthier options too, in the range department we also have access to a Tanegashima rifle, which were very common for the time period. So it seems like Ghost of Yotei is massively expanding your arsenal, but the one question that leaves me with is what it means for the stance system. I feel like one of the reasons the stance system in Tsushima worked so well was because you only had one weapon, so it added some much needed versatility. But now that we get multiple weapons, does that mean that every weapon will have 4 stances? My personal guess for now is that the kusarigama is specifically meant to deal with groups, and the katana is still your go-to option to counter various weapon types, but we'll have to wait and see. I also think that wielding a single katana is still going to be an option. We can briefly see the beginning of a duel and a standoff later, later, where Atsu only seems to reach for a single blade. Nice to see that both are returning as well, as specifically the jewels were some of my favorite parts of the last game. And much like Jin, Atsu seems to carry a very special blade with her, as the crossguard, or tsuba I believe it's called, clearly shows the image of a wolf. This likely means it belongs to an important person, or maybe it's a family heirloom that might tie into that story of vengeance I mentioned earlier. But the wolf thematics do not stop there, as we can see Atsu befriending one later in the trailer too. We've of course seen many animal interactions in Ghost of Tsushima too, but even those were kind of important to the character. For if you need a refresher, the yellow songbirds that lead you to interesting locations and loot were representative of Jin's mother, as it was her favorite bird. She also believed the Inari, so the spirit of the fox, was her son's guardian, hence why they lead you to their shrines. So it seems like they're going to continue that motif, except for Atsu it's going to be wolves, although the PlayStation blog post did hint that we'll meet more animals as well. And in general, I think it's kind of cool that they kept a lot of what was iconic to Jin and the first game and made it fit to a new character. Remember that Jin could play the flute to change the weather? Well, Atsu has a shamisen on her back, which I'm guessing will serve the same purpose. And while she of course looks completely different, Atsu is carrying on the trend of wearing terrifying half masks that Jin also used as the ghost. In fact, the blog post literally refers to it as a ghost mask, and maybe I'm reading into it too much, but that info got me really excited. If it means what I think it means, Jin's actions in Tsushima have led to multiple ghosts standing up over the years, protecting the people of Japan while functioning outside the law and definition of honor upheld by the samurai. There might even be multiple ghosts in game, but at the very least it sounds like Atsu is carrying on Jin's legacy in some shape or form. And I think that also gives us an explanation for the fact that the guiding winds that can be seen several times in the trailer are also back. Like the songbirds were a representation of Jin's mother, the guiding winds represented his father Kazumasa. So it would make no sense for Atsu to see these unless the winds are now representative of Jin, guiding the new ghost to defend the people of Japan. Definitely take this with a grain of salt, but I kinda like this theory, so I hope it turns out true. And one other way that Jin could of course show up is through the legendary tales we encountered in the first game. These were an absolute highlight, and they also returned for the Iki Island DLC, so I can't imagine them remaining absent for the sequel. And how cool would it be for one of those stories to be about a legendary samurai who became a ghost to save the people from his island? And there are of course plenty of rewards that would be fitting for such a quest, like Jin's old armor or the return of the ghost stance. While I imagine the side content will be as high quality as the previous game, it's actually the main story I'm most excited about. Obviously we currently know very little, but one interesting detail appeared in an article in the New York Times. The developers have stated that players would have a greater control over her, so Atsu's story, than in the previous game, which has me hopeful that we get to see more impactful choices like the ending for Ghost of Tsushima, which was the absolute highlight of the main quest. The game appears to have much more urban areas as well, so I can also imagine us to run into a lot more people, forming meaningful relationships and rivalries by some of the choices that we get to make. We'll make some enemies for sure, and there are some very dangerous looking new variants as well. This intimidating warrior wields a large no-dachi sword and uses the familiar way of the flame to ignite his blade, so I'm hoping that means Atsu gets to use it too. Or, since these short clips at the end all show Atsu's new combat abilities, it could be that this is in fact her, which would not only confirm the way of the flame is back, but also that we get to use a no-dachi sword and wear that badass armor set. Another part of the trailer I want to draw attention to is the wanted poster. We used Google Image Translate and ChatGPT to translate it, so of course please correct me if any of this is mistranslated and let me know your theories on the poster as well. But yeah, there's some info here on Atsu's last whereabouts, a reward for 100 Ryo for this woman's head, but it's the second line that is the most interesting, as it refers to Atsu as the 18th warrior, which totally fits with what I mentioned earlier, as that means our protagonist is or was part of an army or warband of sorts. Again, your theories are more than welcome, just wanted to note it because it fits with the rest of what we seem to know about Atsu. So yeah, safe to say I am really excited after this teaser trailer, so I hope we get to learn more soon. With the blog post noting there's more to share in the months ahead, I'm thinking Game Awards on December 12th is a likely spot for the game to show up. Since Sony stated there won't be any major existing PlayStation franchise titles before April 2025, we know it won't release early in the year. But since they like to announce things relatively close to release these days, I'm thinking summer 2025 is actually pretty likely. The original Ghost came out in July, and with the PS5 Pro hitting late this year, I can't think of a better title to showcase that machine's power than Ghost of Yotei. Let us know if we missed anything in the comments, subscribe for more videos on the game, and leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And while we wait for more info, you can already jump into Genshin Impact. Right now, we made a video on the big new free update that you can watch by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.